Well, when it comes to the wall, or the fence across just the southern border, I will say it would work for one good reason if it was enforced in this manner. You build that fence and it's got gates. I mean, because Trump's talking about ending the cartels bringing drugs into this country. It'll work really quick, and you don't have to go over to Mexico and bomb them or nothing. You don't have to do any of that. You just, with the gates and the fence, and the gates being guarded, and those on the Mexico side, anyone that wants to come towards those gates through their little toll roads or whatever you want to call them, checkpoints, that they're to be checked for drugs. And then when it gets up to here, if they make it up to our gates, when we check them and make sure they ain't got no drugs. And if they got drugs, then you can fine the president for that, because they didn't make sure that those people didn't make it to our gates with drugs. And then the cartel falls. America's the ones that's keeping them cartels going with money, because Americans or the U.S. citizens are buying their drugs. Because they're making it in Mexico. Cocaine is made in Mexico. All the other stuff, that other drug that starts with an F, I'm not talking about fenbendazole. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving out no health advice. I'm just giving out my opinions on the border mainly. But that's how it'll work. They're just stopped immediately. Two places where they're stopped, and plus, if we catch them with the drugs, we don't arrest them and seize the drugs and bring them into the country where the police can sit there and distribute it all out. So that way they can have a drug war in America to make extra money. It's sent back. You go back. And you're going to be reported. And they're going to put you in jail trying to bring drugs across our border. And whoever searched that automobile or whatever, vehicle or automobile, and didn't find drugs because they didn't search it right, they get in trouble too. Start holding people accountable. And if people want to leave, same thing going out. There ain't going to be no drugs going into Mexico. The only thing that would be going back into Mexico is the money. Drugs come in, money goes out. And they only catch the side going out, the money. But now in one state that's changed, so now they're hitting all the drugs that's coming into the state. For now, till it goes quiet. Then they're back to confiscating money, and they get to keep it. And the Fed gets to keep it too. They get to keep most of it, and then what's left is shared amongst everybody else that was involved in the confiscation of it. Even the judge that controls those, whoever, and either the sheriff or the state trooper, the state, whatever, the governor, I bet the governor get a part of that money. It's all a racket, and we can end it real quick. And when you do that away, their revenue drops probably by 80%. It might be more. And then they fall apart. And the drug cartels shut down because they ain't got no revenue coming in to stay up and going, pay all of their soldiers and whatever. Their corporate guards, drug corporate guards. You know, drug cartel they're pretty much like a corporation, so that's what they are. They're corporate guards. They're protecting the cartel, and they're like the police, going out there and make sure they're getting their money from those they control. Make sure all of it's there, or it's pop, or whatever. I know they like to cut people up, cut them into pieces while they're alive. I've seen a video. I saw a video of one girl. They cut her arms off at the elbows, sat there with their pocket knife and cut her arms off. I couldn't watch any more after that. They cut her up. They tortured her to death. And she didn't have blood pouring out everywhere, unless that was AI. Because there was no blood pouring out of her arm, cutting those arteries and everything. That knife wasn't hot when they were sitting there cutting. She'd been screaming more. So, could have been AI. See how much, see if someone can watch all of it and can handle it. Not me. That was sad. That was wrong. So, that's what I believe on how we can stop the drugs, stop going after drugs in our country. It stopped at the border. And pretty much same thing across our border with Canada. We just should build a wall there or a fence there also. And only have a few 4 or 5 different places where people can go back and forth. And then the only way is the planes. So, but I don't think people should be frisked, someone putting their hands on someone like they're guilty of something and all that at the airports. Even when they pull someone over and stop them to check their automobiles, but you're supposed to be free. You're not, unless they know you got drugs. They're really not supposed to be pulling you over and searching your property, and because you have a Fourth Amendment. And then asking you questions and all that because you have a Fifth Amendment. When the cops pull you over, they're supposed to read you your rights immediately. That's the way it used to be done. But because they want to find drugs or weapons and see if you're a felon and not supposed to own weapons, or if you're drunk or on some drugs, and it's all to make extra money. There's incentives. If there was no incentives in that to say, well, this is too much work, I'm just going to do whatever. If I just happen to catch someone, well, good. I need to get rid of all these incentives. Overtime, if they go into court, if the person wants to contest the tickets and all that and then take it to court, well, they get overtime. Don't get rid of that. No, you're on the job. You're making what you're making, and that is it. And they won't want to spend their time in court. Because I don't think they like being in court anyways. They'd rather be out, supposed to rather be out catching real criminals. Not turning people into criminals with codes and statutes. Traffic law is a statute and codes. UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, not law. If it was Uniform Commercial Law, then that'd be different. It's a law. UCL. I'm not wearing a uniform. Can you see me wearing a uniform? I'm not under UCC. I'm not in your jurisdiction. I don't have to have plates. That's for motor vehicles that are attached to commercial businesses. So, this is how you get them. I don't have a report book to report my mileage. So I'm not working under UCC. I'm not operating under UCC. But cops, they ain't going to listen. You have to do it with the judge. Their job is to be kidnappers and thieves and murderers if you don't comply. Well, he's not complying. Now I'm afraid for my life, so just because he won't comply, bang, 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 bang. Don't have to worry about him or her no more. One less one to do something to us that you make it do that would make our lives worse. Which would be suing them, putting liens upon them. You sue them in their official capacity. But anyways, that is what I believe. That's how Trump should do it. Just build that fence, have a few gates have gates at the roads that goes into there, and then a deal is made to where they at their checkpoint before they come to our border, our side of that border, they're to make sure they don't have any drugs. They're to check anywhere and everywhere. If they want to keep drugs from coming in this country, if they really want to control the borders like that, it's only at the border checkpoints where they pull people over and check for drugs. At the gates. Not 100 miles away from it. Not 50 miles away from it. At the gates. Stop messing with other people that ain't dealing in drugs. Hasn't come in through the border. Ain't going towards the gates. It's all for money and control and power. I got power. I can do what I want. You better comply. No man has a higher claim over another man. The Constitution does not give it, and neither does the state constitutions. And we have state constitutions because we're supposed to be separate from the United States federal corporations. They're not supposed to enforce anything in our states. We're separate. 9th and 10th Amendment separated us from them. The United States federal corporation has no power in our states. Except for that the governors a long time ago joined the U.S. in a union to become one. So then they allow, against our consent and our will and without our vote, to have the U.S. federal corporation have reign over us. It's not the way it was created. It's not supposed to work this way. Not at all. You trolls, you bootlickers, you can believe whatever the hell you want, but it's plain and clear on how it was all created. All you got to do is look up why was the 9th and 10th Amendments created. It was to separate us from them. Oh, you got your power over there, we got ours over here. And you leave us alone. We have the right to kick them out and everyone that's in these federal buildings that work for them. We have that right. It's our country. That's what we say, it's our country. No, when they say our country, they're telling us it's actually their country. They took control of it. They act like they own all the land and we have to buy it from them. We're not supposed to be buying land. We're supposed to be able to go anywhere we want, buy a good amount piece of land we want, and put a fence around it. And then say, this is how much I want, that I need to grow gardens and to have cows or sheep or goats or whatever. Enough to sustain yourself, and if you have a family. You got to make sure you have plenty to sustain a family, especially to be able to stock up and store food through winter. Because you can't grow unless you build a good greenhouse and it's climate controlled. You can grow indoors. It may not be quite as good as what's grown outside in the sun, but you get the right lots, and you can grow food in your house. I've grown food in my house. I've grown vegetables. I've grown uh, tomatoes. Uh, I had a fig tree in here, and during winter it produced a fig, or a couple. One I missed. It's hard to tell when they're ready, but they'll turn purple all the way up near the stem. About that much of it will be green. Well, once it pretty much reaches to that, about 3/8 of an inch green, it's pretty much ready to eat. You don't need to wait for it, all of it to turn purple, because it'll fall off. And if it hits the floor, it's no good unless you actually have your floor so clean you can eat off of them. But yeah, well, you all take care. Bye.